this way, off the record. Who is Rume?
That's a very, very good question. Rume Ophi is the name, is actually Ogene Rume Ophi, but something happened when I was in school. All right, so people always call me Ogene. Ogene means God in my language. So I had
Okay.
to I had to rebrand somehow because I think I was exposed to branding very early. I'm very conscious about perception, how people see things and how the value behind the saying. I also referenced a couple of things from the Bible. As part of some things that happen, I'll be a bit religious now. Lost of the eyes, lost of the flesh, and pride of life. It's part of what I use as branding. It's on the Bible that, yeah, people want to see. People want to, you don't know who I am. Like, now we they run am, so that's pride of life. And, people want to do certain things, sometimes you just feel like chilling. You just feel like sometimes you just randomly feel like doing something, which is even not right sometimes, as humans, so that's the flesh. So I now metamorphose into becoming for this industry. Before this industry, I've always had this mindset that I can always make money. That's a goal, a long life goal, that I can make money just having the internet and my computer. And I don't have to be what we popularly say boy to somebody, or follow, because I came from an household where there were a lot of politicians and everyone tries to either be loyal or you are nothing or you buy their sentiment. And I figured out that I'm very opinionated. Despite who you are, I will say what I want to say. I will do what I want to do different. You will not like me, but I will say it. So I needed to survive. Since I have such mindset, I needed to protect my voice, and I don't think someone else holding me or having to hold my resources or the key to my resources would be inevitable. So I'm this young man that is very innovative driven, tech driven. At least I've been around tech for an average of 23 years. I mean, from A plus computer hardware to database to networking, CNA, CMP to telecoms at Huawei, Etel Project, Lagos Coastland, till right now. So in a nutshell.
So your hair is really gray, I know.
You said, well, I didn't get that.
Your hair is already gray, I know.
So I love it where people dare to challenge the status quo. And I did that by coming to Lagos, and I took that risk. I didn't know anybody here. I didn't have family, but I find out a way to move around it. And today, some of those things I thought about, there a lot of disappointment here and there, failure here and there. Sometimes I feel like I feel like I've failed more than anybody around me. But people don't know because the wins seems to be people's face somehow. Sometimes I talk about the failures, but they don't care. So that's me. I'm from Delta. I'm Robo by tribe. I usually say Robo to people that are familiar with where I'm from, but I like to say I'm a Deltan, and I'm the first child of my family. 4 guys, no girl, no lady, and I love my family so much. And I'm from a Christian home. I think this should be one of the most sincere interview section I'm having right now. When I mean sincere, I mean I'm even comfortably talking about my family background. I don't share that anywhere at some point. But I don't think that should go online because it's too much information.
Well, that's exactly why I asked the question of the book, so to get to know you on a more personal level.
Yeah, sure. You're very correct on that. I'm also very versatile. A couple of other things apart from tech. I've worked in a few, I worked in a few sales platforms. Before I used to, I hate sales, I hate marketing, but after working in a few sales company, I think I was being stressed. It turns out that I was naturally a sales guy, and sales and marketing are very core part of every business. A couple of persons mistake sales for marketing, but they are not same. But I think I love sales because if you have product or services, if you are not rendering those services to people in terms of selling it, you are not known at all. Like nobody will know you. Then I also love very good music. Like I love real music. I love live music. I don't listen to music that I cannot learn from. So that's one very strict barriers I have because I play a couple of music instruments. I play about 6 of them. I have a piano in my house. I major on the wind instrument. I have a trumpet. I have a flugelhorn, and I play tuba sometimes, trombone sometimes, and a euphonium. I have a few skill around the drums. And try to sing sometimes in karaoke, then in church. There's something a lot of people don't know. I'm a music director in my church.
Oh wow, that's cool.
I was music and music director early this year. A lot of people don't know. Some know, but I don't like that's like you said off camera. Then what again? I I know a lot of people, and they think that I will end up in politics. I think I leave that to the hands of God because I have a lot of people that are in politics that from childhood they always tell me you're going to be a politician. In my mind, I was like, I don't know, leave it to go. But I think some of the realities are coming in because my views about a couple of things, particularly my state, because I believe charity, they say, begins from home, then the country at large. I don't like to bother myself about the country at large, but I believe for my community, for my state, I think there should be a lot of impact. Local government chairman is very close to me, but I'm not scared of always telling him when he's doing anyhow, when he's messing up. And the House of Assembly guy is close to me as well. The House of Rep for my federal constituency is close to me. The senator, I did not want to be close to him. That's why I still have his number. I don't want to be close to him because I feel I'm not impressed. I think the
Mm.
governor knows me. My state knows me, but I still don't like him. I didn't believe in him when he came up because I believe that he doesn't have intellectual capacity to be a governor. But it is what it is. And here I am.
Yeah. Well, I think it's something that you can explore. I think it already fits you. You're already a public facing person already. So being a politician, we need good people in governance. So
Yeah,
if you're into it, I'll be rooting for you. I'll give you support.
yeah. But right now, I think there's a lot of money in tech. This is our industry. We have not just conceptualized it. There's a lot of money in our industry. When everything becomes better,
Yeah.
maybe we'll look into politics later. But there's no money in politics if we have the structure of our industry well positioned. The Tony Elumelus of this world. I tell you this, mark my words, except I'm no longer alive. We have young men in Web3, in crypto, in blockchain that will be richer than Tony Elumelu in the next 10 years.
Mhm. Yeah, of course. Of course. Of course. That's very, 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 very possible and obtainable. And that's I don't think to the Lumeli should even be a yardstick to even measure wealth for Africans. I feel like he's even still far from it. But maybe someone, me in my head, I will even look more on Dangote
Why?
instead.
Why I said Tony Elumelu? Because the banking, finance, and our industry is closer than.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I get your point. I get your point. Anyways, I think that should be good on that. Let's just try to manage our time and we'll move straight to your next question.
All
So
right.
so far, you've educated thousands of Africans about crypto over the years.
Yeah.
What's the biggest misconception about crypto that still exists to today?
All right. Thank you. Fantastic question. One of the biggest misconceptions is that a lot of Africans believe that after making money in crypto, their best bet is to liquidate to cash, and cash is not the way.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So
they,
it's to fiat. Okay.
yeah. They believe that, oh, I made this huge amount of money, 10,000, 20,000. I used to think that way. Well, I think I was stupid then because I didn't have a lot of knowledge. I'm owning up to my foolishness. I'm a very sincere person. I've had
Okay.
portfolio $100,000, $200,000, and more. But I always feel like, okay, maybe after I could just liquidate this, and the end goal is to have more naira or more dollar or more maybe physical asset. So we think mostly we mostly think about around things on physical asset. Okay, make I buy this house, make I buy this car, you know. And I
Mm.
think over the years I've grown past that. I've seen that a lot of people are still in that. Even a lot of people in crypto. A couple of them are guys that you and I may know. They made a lot of money. They were, because of the fact they were thinking in that line, they lost a lot of it. So
Mm.
they would be thinking in this other way, which is, oh, you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 BTC. You can
Mm.
collateralize your BTC or your stable coin and just be making small money out of it as a yield, or returns. You stake it, or maybe you put it as a liquidity pool. So you still have your 10, 5, 20 BTC, but you're making, let's say, certain amount of percentage. Even say, yeah, if you're making like 23, 20%, that's not a lot to service your lifestyle, except you are a very flamboyant person,
Okay.
spender.
So now basically you're trying to say that people should make money in crypto and keep it in crypto rather than switching it back to traditional fiat.
Yeah, because you lose your value if you flip it to traditional fiat.
Okay, so what about people who eventually do the same investments in fiat? Because the person can also choose to switch to fiat and then also do money market investment, treasury bills, and all of that. And it looks like it's safer when it's in fiat because of price volatility of Bitcoin itself. So I think maybe, in my opinion, I think maybe it may be safer if the crypto where they make it in is in USDT. And like when they want to make these investment decisions, like the staking and the yields, maybe it's safer when it's in USDT than in Bitcoin.
Yeah. So two ways. I also give the option of USDT and I give the option of Bitcoin. I'll make it very clear. For USDT, it's fixed, right? It's to save you from volatility. Therefore, Bitcoin long term, irrespective of the price movement, because um, a lot of us, when we're investing in something, most especially when it comes to Bitcoin or certain crypto coins, well, I prefer Bitcoin because of this over time convention of trust for us, right?
Mhm.
Uh, you don't have to always look at it in relation to price, So because I still remember when I saw Bitcoin for the first time, it was $400, but I was so poor to buy it. So and I know that if I was rich to buy it, I would have bought more. And peradventure, if I bought $400, peradventure, I would have sold everything.
Mm.
You
Okay.
understand? So yeah, so I want us to have that flip in our thinking where you have cash flow on some other things that peradventure you made profit, you can invest in some other things. Money market not bad. Stocks and all of those things not bad. Treasury bills not bad. You can diversify. You can have physical business. But the truth is that for long term, you have cash flow, just be putting it there. I've done it before. I was doing $10 weekly, and I did it for 3 years. I increased it later to $20, and I did it for 3 years. And with all of the volatility, when it's down, it's down. I don't care. When I actually checked what I've saved, I made some very huge amount of money. Though small. Sometimes when the tap is not running, or not running well, you're angry. But when you leave it, that little drop. Before you know, if you try it somewhere, you flood your entire house. I think it could be flipped to when you're putting something gradually somewhere. It builds the power of compounding. So that's for Bitcoin. And I'm looking at Bitcoin as a long-term saving scheme as against saving your money in fiat. Then you can still take some, in that area of stablecoin where you can be getting yields and all. So it's a two-way thing. So my bias now, as against the fact that I'm a crypto person, a
Mm,
virtual asset person. Before I didn't have that mindset. I would just think around that space. But right now, I've seen a lot of things. I've messed a lot of money up. So I understand that it cannot always be crypto. You you put some on some other places so that you have everything coming in different ways somehow. So this one is not because if you check right now, in a few, say, 4 5 years now, thereabout, crypto has not been the way it used to be then when we all got it. So it's been crazy now. So how will you now survive? That's the question. So that's why it's good you open yourself up for other options to make
mm.
money.
Okay.
Other options I mean now, for me now, I've now become so liberal that if I have the opportunity, I'm going to buy some shares in Nigeria. I'm actually looking to get involved in Dangote if it's released, for example. But before now, everything around all of these things are nothing to me because I only feel the digital asset space is the ultimate and nothing else. It's a function of
Yeah.
knowledge. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think I typically get it. I think Bitcoin can be seen as a long-term investment. So you can do like DCA on Bitcoin, like what you did, $10 every week, 3 years, and all that. Okay, that's fair. Looking back at when you started compared to now, how has the African crypto ecosystem matured, and where do you think it still falls short?
In terms of maturity, I think our growth is actually exponential. I think I love our growth in Africa.
Mm,
Sometimes some of us are too quick to compare ourselves with the West, which is very wrong. We have our uniqueness, our jurisdictions are different. The growth is good. The growth is good, but I think our greatest asset is our young people, aged 18 to 35, particularly Nigeria and some other
mm,
big African countries. So then our cross-border transactions, for example, if you notice what's happening in Kenya and Uganda, I've used mobile money before. I don't have a bank account. I went to the country, I registered to get a SIM card, and they can send money to my line, and I can
mm,
transfer to someone else phone number, and I can withdraw cash if I want to. That penetration. I was checking some music some days ago. It's actually amount to about 1.8 billion transactions across Africa. That's cross-border transaction, mobile money, and all. And our
mm,
internet penetration is even getting more interesting. So that put together, bringing the crypto infrastructure, blockchain infrastructure on it, I'm very sure that the growth will be astronomical and even more better than where we saw it before now. And young people here are hungry to innovate, even though we have terrible policies from the government, but you can see companies like Shopwork, Global, and you just see some Nigerian startups, for example, Money Point and the likes, Total Weave, and you see these are unicorns. They solve the problem in our jurisdiction, and I'm a proponent of using African solution to solving global problems. I don't think is actually comfortable to borrow, copy and paste from the West most times to Nigeria in terms of adding value or solving problems. It's part of what I wrote today in my post on LinkedIn. If we see a challenge in Africa or in Nigeria, what we need to be thinking is how we can solve it rather than what is obtainable in the West. We can know about it, but our challenges are unique to us. So, what that has done in answering your question, I beg your pardon. Uh,
yeah. I think you've answered more on the how it has matured. So, but then how it still falls short is where.
Yeah. So how it has fallen short is government not embracing it fully. Yeah, how it has fallen short is government not embracing it fully. I understand that they cannot really fully because they are also skeptical that they are going to lose power, even globally. This is what is going on. The US is championing it because the US is also moving to push for the dollar hegemony, the dollar leading, the dollar being, and that's their strength. So some the central European Central Bank will take a step back because when people tend to use dollar-based stablecoin, it has a way of affecting some other economies. And for example, African economy like Nigeria, I'm not seeing the reality yet because we are heavily dollarized somehow. So but it now looks like the synthetic dollar is now like a lifeline. So in a nutshell, I think the government should see how we can be selfish with our naira backed by eventual stable coins, if possible, then cap the synthetic dollar usage in Nigeria so that we know that, oh, if we know we are transacting $10 billion, we know should that threshold, we know that what is for transacting, then we know that, oh, this is what is moving. We just have a threshold to it, and just allow it be open ended. I don't know if you were also shocked at Chainalysis data of $92 billion worth of transactions in stable coins and all.
Yeah, I saw it. I think like 96. So I'm not.
Yeah.
I wasn't too surprised. I think we have gotten to that level because in the past year, when the issue with Binance came up, yeah, what's his name? Cardoso, the CBN governor said Binance moved 36 billion in transactions within the year they operated. So hearing 96 was more like, okay, balances up because Binance is just one party. There are other players like Bybit, and then there are individual players, people who are doing transactions, business, importation, and all of that. So I wasn't too surprised at the number.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you. You mentioned about regulatory uncertainty in terms of the shortfalls for ecosystem. So this next question, the third question, is on about the fact that Nigeria consistently ranks among the world's leading countries for like crypto adoption. So what factors do you believe has driven this despite regulatory uncertainty? So even as this regulatory uncertainty exists, Nigeria is still leading. So what do you believe is driving this growth regardless?
What is driving this growth is in many ways, first and foremost, is access. Usually, if you want to do business, you go to the bank to source dollar, right?
Yeah.
But most cases right now, you don't have to do all of that. You just have to go and source for somebody or someone that is in China that can accept USDT or the RMB, so to say, the Chinese fund. I also do that, So, and if you even if you have naira, you don't have the dollar, you just have to transfer the naira equivalent to someone's account, and the person buys USDT, use USDT to buy RMB or send USDT direct to the person that needs it. So it's access, compared to before. Then that access has actually aided. And speed is very important. I once had an incident where I have an uncle in Minnesota and Minneapolis that is always sending money home for a project. Fortunately for me, I'm always the one going to collect. A few times those years before this our industry became what it has become, I will go to the bank. There will be no network for 4 5 hours. After all my data been collected, even when it comes, around 5 6% is being removed from the funds as against what we have now. So access has been unequivocal. It's not something that we are used to. something really dynamic, despite all of this. But again, to speak to the question, again, I think one other thing that I've actually fueled it is the fact that in recent time, we know government has been here and there with some of this, but there's been some wins that have been recorded, like the ISA, the, NTA, the NTAA, some of those laws, then the ARIP, the Acceleration and Incubation Regulatory Program that was done at some point, where a couple of them are given licenses, provision licenses, even though some of them assume it was licensed by the SEC. So from that, if you ask me, give it up for this current administration. They are messing up. They would have done better, most especially through the SEC. But you can't compare it to the man that banned crypto and banned Twitter's administration.
Yeah, I think so. I think I kind of agree that there's been a bit of, encouragement, or there's been a bit of access, or there's been a bit of the government willing to listen a little bit in this administration, but it can be better, actually.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
one more thing I think I'll add to that as a caveat is the fact that what we now have now when it comes to fragmentation is the fact that the SEC was actually not doing what he ought to do. The SEC was supposed to regulate, but he regulated, and it was more like looking like Gary Gensler of the US at some point. You regulate and assume everyone is security, which is not also very correct. Then started doing man kind of thing. You give provision license to 2 exchange platforms and a few others that are not exchange though. And you stop there, you're not looking like these 2 guys were not trying to determine who else gets the license. Yeah, they were not this kind of cabal kind of play. And at the end of the day, it's not looking at, so the NSA just jumped on it. Like, so the SECDG started irritating some agencies, like come like saying only in the chop or not only in the, that kind of whole thing, which is supposed to be a more robust regulatory oversight around some of these agencies, like the Office of the National Security Advisor, the NFIU, EFCC, CBN, so that they can all look for a middle ground. But he was just doing one-man show and everything. But right now, in our pidgin language, we don't cast. Why? Because right now, you can't give a license without the NSA approval, because the crypto is being referred to or treated here as a national security kind of thing. And the industry is now revolting against the SECDG because Bitcoin is not a security, and a couple of other things that they've done. Then, as we're talking, the issue of VARA came in, virtual assets regulatory authority came in, and specifically with drink water drop cup, CBN came up with a pilot scheme, including this pilot program with Flutterwave and CNGN and CoinCoin and a couple of others, and those are the people that CBN is looking up to. So those that even have provincial license in the ARIP, so to say, didn't feature in the CBN pilot. So more like an ego play from all of these whole thing. But let's see how it's going to end. But what I think is going to make a lot of sense is if we have a crypto law, we don't even have a crypto law passed by Parliament yet. I understand exactly where we will go. We'll meet some certain recommendations, myself and a couple of my colleagues. And also, I also double as the lead communication and programs for Virtual Asset Service Provider Association. So, Pan-African Association. So, I'm trying to get ourselves involved in all of the things that I've done across the African sub-Saharan region. See what Ghana is doing. They have really gone very far in scaling. Kenya, South Africa. South Africa even did so much that we gave 60 licenses to platforms there. oh, just get the license and operate and let's see what we can learn from it. Then we'll try to pull rules around. But Nigeria, we messed it up. Then we went further to put into prison. Binance executive, knowing fully well that it's not the owner of Binance, then we destroyed our reputation somehow with that. So
Yeah.
the best is yet to come.
Okay. All right. I think I agree with that. The best is yet to come. Let's see how the regulatory landscape evolves over time. So moving to the next question, 4. We've seen a shift from speculative trading towards stable coins, payment, and reward utility. I think like recently too, the co-CEO of Binance, Richard Teng, said Africa is crypto's biggest utility market. So now, what use case do you think will drive the next wave of crypto adoption in Africa?
Payment is very big in Africa. Payment is very big in Africa. And aside payments, I'm trying to think around. I'm also very big on the fact that tokenized assets is also going to be very big in Africa. Because think about it, for example, there's gold in Sokoto. It's not tokenized. You don't know how it's going on, what's going on there. Seeing some of these northern, some of the things that you see that are happening in the north, because of resources, areas where you have lithium and some other things, bandits and other things. Imagine we have all of these things have been fractionalized and digitized, and you can buy a fraction and they are well protected. Not these people using helicopters to collect and do illegal mining and all. Then our oil as well. Can then make the individuals in the country buy into it. Buy fractions into it. So all of these things, tokenization of reward asset, and it's going to be very, very, very interesting going forward. Imagine I also have a farm. I don't have money to set it up, but I tokenize the whole entire system, and people started buying token. I started having liquidity to build and profit sharing. At the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, and the year.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be also put us in a way whereby we have to track our resources. Because we're kind of very blessed amongst other continents, but we've not been able to
harness it fully.
Put proper record and accountability in terms of how it's about. So tokenization is going to cap it for us to understand that. I think we're doing something $1 billion in barrels every day, and the monies are nowhere to be found. Then we tokenize it. We see, yeah.
Okay, well noted. I think that's a good opinion, and you've kind of answered a subsequent question I was going to ask. But then let's just move on the next question for you. Many young Africans enter crypto primarily seeking financial opportunities. How can newcomers distinguish between genuine opportunities and the growing number of scams and unsustainable projects?
If you ask me, I would say that the old playbook is gone. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand what I mean by that.
Okay.
You come into crypto, you buy one crypto, or you spread around meme coins. Yes, the meme coin economy is still going to be there. Yeah, or not going to be attractive as it used to be. So what I think is that old playbook where you buy coin or you just make money cash out of. Right now, everything is now very organized. No more free money as it used to be. About buying coins or about trading. Trading is still going to be there, but with institutional fund coming, they have more sophisticated bots, more sophisticated traders. So those that are coming just because of the fact that they want to trade crypto and become rich, they are going to lose their money back to back. Leverage trading, so that's the old system. And if you abide by it, you're going to stress yourself. You lose sleep, you lose your mind, you'll be depressed, you'll be poor. If you are very skilled, you could survive it, make some things out of it to sustain you. But the new playbook is understand the technology for what it is. Get skills around what you think is favorable to you, and seek job opportunities around those skills. So I'm a crypto market analyst on TV. I consult for a few companies too coming into the country. I do OTT where people buy a huge amount of cryptocurrencies because I have access to the market, large quantity of stable coins and all. So I teach passionately. I find it difficult to teach the basics because it looks very alien to me now. So just build something, and now you can see that I'm the co-founder and organizer of Decentralized Nigeria. So it's just all about my passion that I've conceptualized and put into a career. So the career game in the industry is very big. Unfortunately, a lot of people are not seeing that right now. I've been employed before in some platforms, and it's because of what I have to offer, a skill that got me that opportunity. Even though I have friends that recommended me, I don't think in any crypto platform I've done stuff with I've ever submitted the CV. It's just relationship and the skill. So I'm moving from that idea of where people think the conventional way of go get good grades, do 9 to 5, retire, and have the golden box, to spend money. I've visited those eras ended. What we're in now is the knowledge economy.
Yeah.
Which you can solve problems around the industry here in Africa and get attracted to somebody that you can meet their needs and they pay you, they reward you for it.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's a quite similar situation. Referrals have really helped in this industry, especially for people who are early or those that have been early in the space. I think we've done a lot of referrals amongst ourselves. So this continues from where you were speaking, right? So as someone who has built one of Africa's largest crypto communities, what qualities separate individuals who succeed long term in the industry from those who quickly lose interest?
That question actually made me breathe deeply because something I wrote a few minutes ago around that. So that question made me breathe deeply because something I wrote somewhere around that. And it reads, the biggest mistake ambitious people make is confusing being busy with making progress.
Okay.
So you have to prioritize being strategic, solving problems. Sometimes it might not go the way you want, but you must always look for a way to move along. So why I said this is because I started as someone that buys a lot of Bitcoin and give people Naira in return, right? That it gets a point around 1819 when I went to the African Blockchain Conference. That was my first time to be on a plane, and I had my first time also to travel out of the country. Courtesy crypto. Yeah, so I realized that the time we come, from what I saw, I'm someone that is very futuristic. The time we come, for all of these buying and selling crypto trading will be seen of a joke, or maybe I don't like to do things that everybody's doing. I like to always say, Papa. I know it's going to be that, so I took myself out to position myself in a more corporate manner in this industry. And that corporate has actually made me different from a couple of persons in the industry, So you look at it, every industry, you see the engineering, the professional law, and you see it started from in my mind. I feel like someone started this, a group of persons started this, and they built it to this level. So why can't we just build an industry? So I had a mindset that to build something around the ecosystem. We don't know where it's heading, but for me, is a quote I also have. In the crypto space, we don't know where it's headed, but personally, I want to be amongst those shaping it. So that has actually set me apart. I want to be among those shaping it. I used to be more like who taught the first professor, that kind of thing. So I see myself as that way, So that has actually set me apart. I have this corporate mindset to solving for institutions coming in. There are some people that need to serve them, but a lot of people in the space just coming into the space because passion is not enough, and money, you may have it in the space and you will lose it. You're not strategic, so look for something that prevention may not be clear now, like what you're doing, but very soon it's going to be the talk of the town.
Exactly. Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much for expanding on that. Now, the final question here is, if you're advising African policymakers on crypto regulation today, what 3 recommendations would you make to encourage innovation while protecting consumers? I think this is something that should interest you because I think you're close to them.
Regulate, not strangulate.
I like that. Regulate, not strangulate. Okay. So that is one.
Yes, and also it should be more of a partnership than the Lord and Savior, because our regulators have the Lord and Savior mentality. You can't even get to hear them give insights. See what happened in Ghana, for example, where 0.75% on wallet to bank transfer was suspended. It's supposed to happen in 1st of June, but it was suspended because of a collaborative engagement between the players, the stakeholders, the ecosystem, and government. But in Nigeria, most of the time, what happens is you see platforms that you even send email to, for those of you in the media or journalists in the space, they will not respond to you. They will just come up with something, bam, and hit they will not. So it's not like that's the Lord and Savior kind of thing. You just put the message out there. You see it on national dailies, then you will not be protesting it. But the idea of us coming together and saying that, oh, let us do this thing together. Let's come to a compromise and do this thing together. Then we'll say, okay. Then they now come up with a message on their website or an email on or something, a publication on their website telling us that, see, this is what we agreed collaboratively, or we came together to make sure that this worked, and we put it out there. Some agencies should be accessible. I think is a Nigerian thing where everybody or every agency is trying to play God. They won't answer you. You send an email. They won't, even their those working there won't want to say anything. They want to, but that's not how it is in some other clients. Even in Africa, it's not not how it is. You can ask them. They'll give you same statement on something. Every of their staff. So this is where we're headed. This is where we're headed. That's how we're doing it. But in Nigeria, they don't want to see anything because they believe that Oga go here or something. There's nowhere it come from. They'll sack me. Kind of funny behavior. So they shouldn't play Lord and Savior. There should be collaborative moves to make sure that things work out. Because at the end of the day, we are trying to create a healthy economy, most especially from what we do at VASPA. What we're talking about, how government can make huge amount of money of the industry to boost the 1 trillion of Mr. President's agenda. I think 2028, 2030, thereabout. Yeah, 2030. project Green White Green. So all of that put together is collaborative move. We have to just move together, and also
Yeah, then the third one now. Yeah, the first was regulate, strangulate. Second is collaborative move. So that was the third.
Yeah, so the agencies, the regulators don't have to know it all.
Okay.
Yeah, they behave like they know it all because they've attended conferences in Europe, in US, and they think that they could just bring the such mindset or peradventure such structure or template to Africa. It don't work here that way. What works in the US most times don't work here. We need to have regulations that are tailored to our own jurisdiction.
Okay. Okay. All right. I think that's actually fine. I think we're able to also stay in time. And off on the camera, we've captured a lot, but I'd like us to have another conversation off the camera. Maybe we can do that. We can do that through like a WhatsApp call after like I end this one.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So, but for now, thank you so much for speaking with CoinAfrica One-on-One with Rume Ophi. I didn't say your surname originally because I wanted you to pronounce it. I wasn't sure, is it Ophi or Ophi? But then when you said it, okay,
So I had it bastardized a couple of times, but my alias is very much popular. Crypto pressure is more popular.
yeah,
But the name is not Ophi. Ophi, PH is fee in English, but it's not an English name.
yeah.
So most time people tend to, and I correct those I could correct, but it's Ophi, 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 Rume Ophi, yes, Ophi. Yeah.
All right, no problem. Thank you so much. I'll just bell your WhatsApp. Then
Right.
we can.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, man.